Let's begin with
Yes.
State Representative Mike Harmon.
Got a couple of prepared statements just to make sure here. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I appreciate everybody that listened today and everything. I'm actually humbled for the opportunity to run this ticket with Phil Moffitt. And after prayerful consideration, I'm very excited and very optimistic about our chances. To give you a little background about myself, I've been happily married for 20 years. My lovely bride, Lynn, is right over there. I'm trying to avoid the camera. No, I'm just kidding. We have two beautiful daughters, Tori and Lizzie, and love them very dearly. I graduated Eastern Kentucky University with a triple major in math, statistics, and theater. I tell everybody that way I know the math, I know the statistics, and when I don't know, I'll just act like I know. So, I'm currently serving as a state representative of the 54th District, which includes all of Boyle and Washington counties. I actually lost my first two races. I ran in '98. In 1996, I actually went to vote, and there was only one person on the ballot. And we prayed about it and decided that I should run in '98. But I ran in '98, lost, prayed about it some more, ran in 2000, lost, and then finally in 2002, we did win in the State House with the help of everybody. When I was first elected, I was the first Republican from Boyle County to hold that seat in 102 years. So, thank you. We were excited too. After my first victory, we actually all went up to D.C. It was the first time I'd actually been to Washington, D.C. And I came up with my personal mission statement. It's real simple. It just basically is, I have no desire to leave a legacy except that I serve my Lord, I serve my family, and I serve my country well. This is still a great country. This is the greatest country ever. And this state, this is a great state. So I'm very excited to be in this state. But as much as I love this state, and as much as I love its people and this nation, I think we've lost our vision of greatness. I think we've allowed our freedoms and our prosperity to slowly and incrementally be stripped from us. We've allowed the federal government, and unfortunately to a large degree the state government as well, to mandate and dictate almost every aspect of our lives. I jokingly say if we're not careful, we may wake up one day and find out we've legislated ourselves out of existence. But I'm hopeful. I know that if we can believe and refocus, our vision and our strength will be renewed. I challenge each and every one here, whether you support our slate or not, to reclaim that conservative heart. So why Phil and Mike? Well, I believe we have the vision, and I believe that we have the values, and with the support of the people, we can reclaim that conservative heart. Now, there's several things we're looking at, and of course, Phil's going to talk about them as well. But the three things that I like to look at is, one, we want to constrain the growth of government. We can actually, in the past, I filed bills and it just didn't make it through a Tax and Expenditure Limitation Act, which basically what we would do is cap expenditures to the previous year budget and only have increases due to inflation and or increases in population. Now, my family and I, we lived in California several years ago, and when we returned, I actually rented a 24-foot truck, and I had a 12-foot tow. But the frustrating part of it was that same truck had a 55-mile-per-hour governor on it. So you can imagine driving 36 feet of a truck trying to pass people when they're driving 45 miles an hour. But I will tell you that will not be nearly as frustrating to people who now want to see our government grow exponentially. When we get our next governor, Phil, he's going to be a much greater constraint. The second thing we'd like to look at is reforming our tax system. We talked about it a little bit on the radio, but we want to basically strip away all the current taxes and focus on a very simple, I call it the KISS principle. Many people have heard that, just basically keep it simple. And as we said on the radio, one of the things that, would eliminate the income tax on both personal and corporate, and one of the best examples I ever heard of that was one of my good friends, Senator Jimmy Higdon. Basically, he said, imagine if you're the individual that does the site selection for a new plant. many times the same person that does that selection will actually come and work in that state, many times maybe a plant manager. So if it's down to 2 states, one of them is, say, Kentucky, and one of them is Tennessee, and one of them has income tax and one of them doesn't, are you really going to move to a state or move your plant to a state that you're going to have 8 to 10% income tax rate and take an immediate $10,000 or $15,000 pay cut? Most people would not. So by eliminating the income tax, both personal and corporate, we could pull tons of jobs into Kentucky, and at a minimum, it would make us, much more favorable to other companies. And finally, Phil talked about it a little bit, I think we need to look at reasserting our authority as a state. So many times that we've seen it with the health care bill, and we've seen it with so many other bills, that the federal government has worked to basically trample on the states' rights. But I can promise you that if Phil and I are placed in that position, we will work hard to honor both our state constitution and also the federal constitution. Now, in the parody Galaxy Quest, I don't know if any of y'all ever seen Galaxy Quest. It kind of makes fun of Star Trek people. Of course, was a Star Trekkie. But in Galaxy Quest, the character, played by Tim Allen, Jason Nesbitt, had the line, "Never give up, never surrender." Now, my additional challenge to you is this. Whether you're like my father-in-law, who's 70 years old, or my mother-in-law, whose age will remain nameless for my safety's sake, who attend tea parties, who attend, in some cases, 9-12 groups, or maybe you're just a mother that's concerned about your children's future. Regardless of who you are, I encourage you to please remember, never give up, never surrender. And now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the top of our ticket. I've only known Phil for a very short period of time, but I already know that we have a great many beliefs in common. And with that, well, let me tell you a little bit about Phil. He sits on the board of Bluegrass Institute, or has sat, and he's worked also separately with a group that I think he talked a little bit about it, that raised money that's given over 3,000 choice scholarships so that underprivileged children can have a fighting chance for an excellent education. It's my pleasure to introduce my new friend and your next governor, Bill Moffitt.